How's it going, guys? So right in front of you is my BMW F800r. This is a 2015 year model with slightly upgraded front headlight design. But overall, for every F800r, the process of replacing or flushing your engine coolant is going to be pretty similar. So in this video, I'm going to do it on my 2015 F800r, and if you have a different F800r, you could probably just follow along, and the only difference would be the fairing removal, because this one had a newer fairing compared to the old one. So those steps might be different, but overall the engine, the mechanical part of the coolant replacement is going to be exactly the same. And the area you need to access is this little arrow indicated. Where is it? Right here. This is the bleeding port for the water pump, and so you need to get that removed when you're filling the coolant, so the engine the area would burp properly to get the fluid into the entire system. And there is also a hole over here. Okay, I would think that is optional. That is another like a bleeding port area for the engine. But the main hose you're gonna remove is this down hose at the bottom. This one goes all the way to the bottom of the cooler right here. So this is the bolt we're gonna remove, and thankfully for F800r it's super easy to access everything. All I have to do is again just remove the fairings. At the same time, I'm gonna change my air filter. So I'm just gonna do a general maintenance on the top, but this step I have another video for removing all the areas of the top of the engine. And so if you're very interested, definitely check that video out to service the top area. So let's get started. So before we do everything or anything outside, we need to dilute the BMW full strength coolant that they sell at their car dealers, and you can get it at motorcycle dealers. I bought it on eBay. This is like $12, like 13 shipped, so pretty affordable, not terribly expensive. And with this bottle, I'm able to actually do one job fully, because each job needs about the maximum capacity for the coolant is 1.3 liters on the F800r, but for most people, they say it's about 1 liter of coolant needed for each job. So I should be able to do at least one job and then save some coolants left over in case I need to top it off like later on. I could save it here. But for now, you see I have 2 bottles. So I'm gonna try to dump the coolant, mix it here with the distilled water. So what I'm gonna do is, I know this is 1.5 liters. I need to dump out half, and I'm gonna make 1.5 liters of mixed coolant. So I need to dump out 750 milliliters of water, which I'm gonna use a measuring cup. Okay, and now I'm in my kitchen. Obviously, I'm only gonna measure the water and not the coolant. The coolant itself has an indicator, so I can easily see, where things are, and I don't have to use my cooking stuff for this toxic job. We can do the remaining job of mixing the fluid outside. Okay, so once we finish measuring and dumping out the correct amount of distilled water for other use. Okay, so again, I don't really have any other use for distilled water, so obviously I'm gonna measure, let's see, just first 500 milliliters, and then we're gonna measure 250 milliliters, and then I know that if I mix this full, it's gonna be 1.5 liters of perfectly mixed 50-50 antifreeze. Okay, just somewhere there. Yep. All right. So that's 750 out of the bottle, and the remaining thing I'm gonna do is fill this full, and I know then it's gonna be 1.5 liters. So that's pretty easy, right? All right. So now we can go outside and mix it up. And just want to show you guys what the coolant mixed looks like. Okay, it's kind of like a turquoise blue color, nice looking. Okay, so this is what's left, and you can see from the indicator we have about 250 milliliters left. And again, I can add some distilled water and just save this for top off on the reservoir if needed. And this is the main tool I'm going to be using for the most part. This is my favorite toolkit. This is the Icon, like little ratchet kit that comes with all the hex keys for the most common size, all the Torx keys of the most common size, flathead, Phillips, and a PZ kind of Phillips style screwdriver. So I'm going to be using this little tool. I might need to add a few other things, but for this job, I don't think you need a lot of special tools. Okay, and again, first thing I'm going to do is just remove the top fairing and the side fairings, and then we can take a look at the reservoir and how to dump the reservoir and the remaining fluid. And also for that, you will need a drain pan, and make sure you don't really dump this into the environment because it's really bad, so recycle it. All right, so as promised, I quickly removed the side and top fairing and exposing the reservoir area on the right side. Look at the color, it's not right. So I bought this bike from the previous owner, and of course he didn't disclose any kind of maintenance, so I'm just making a wild guess. He used a different kind of coolant in the system, so this definitely needs to be completely drained. Okay, I opened up the cap, and right now it's leaking because I didn't drain this first, but I think I actually need to just close the coolant cap and have this drained into the pan first, or take it off at least to drain it. So I got a few more tools to help me, namely a plier and a small nose plier, needle nose plier, and just a Phillips screw head just in case. But I think I'm mainly going to be using this to actually loosen all the spring clamps on the bike. Okay, so I'm going to try to loosen this. Let's see. And I'm going to try to dump the water out by holding the pan and catching it. Hopefully not to miss too much stuff. Or I could probably use one of those that's just laying around, okay, to catch the fluid, and hopefully we can dump that. And then we'll try to loosen the bolts at the very bottom and the bleeding port to try to start the draining process. Alright, so I drained it out. I removed that little screw over there. And now I kind of wish I have saved the extra distilled water, because now I need to actually wash this junk from the reservoir to make sure that it doesn't interference with the new coolant. But what I'm going to do now is just use some of the drinking water, hopefully, you know, rinse it and shake it really well, and then close it, and we'll come back to this at the very end. Alright, so I flushed the thing. It's nice and clean now. Next, we'll have to access the bottom pipe that flows to the oil cooling area, and that is a size 8 socket. So I'm just gonna try to actually break it loose and see if I can remove the socket. And in fact, it's pretty easy to remove. It's not a lot of torque, so I think when I try to put it back on, I'll also try to not over tighten it. And from what other people said, for this pipe, for this tube, there is an O-ring inside, so make sure you don't damage it if you don't have a spare ready, and just be gentle when you're pulling it out. And at this stage, I am going to actually just loosen the cap now. Okay, there we go. Kind of hard to catch everything. Save all your stuff. Leave them at a safe distance from the engine coolant. But the coolant is supposed to protect the tools and the engine from rust, so it should be okay, right? So, okay, go. Got this loosened. inside is that weird yellow liquid. It definitely doesn't look like coolant. So he probably mixed water in it. Hopefully there's not a lot of rust, and we could just bleed the system normally, right? So I have that screw removed, and now I'm gonna gently pull it out. If I can, and see if the water would actually flow out. Oh. So it looks like I'm gonna cut 2 zip ties first. They're kind of holding a oil drain or the extra coolant drain pipe somewhere here. So with that loose, I should be able to just move this around a little bit and get things out. And try to pry the area just a little bit, see if it would come out. Alright, there we go. There we go. Now the whole thing, look at that, comes out. Immediately, pretty much everything's been drained. So I would think that's a good pipe to open first. Not a lot of splash, which is good. But man, this looks like water. This is not coolant. I don't know what I'm getting into when I bought the bike, but the bike only had 6,000 miles. So now I'm also gonna just open up the bleed port to increase the airflow just a little more when we try to put the new fluid in there. Okay. And at this stage, when I open this little thing with an error on it, I don't think there's going to be any fluid coming out, just because this is at the very top part of the system. And there is a crush washer, so try to get a replacement if you can, but for me, I didn't prepare for it, so unfortunately I just gotta reuse this crush washer. But it's that bleed port right here. It doesn't even look like I need to remove any more screws, because yeah, that's probably everything. I'm gonna try to pour some coolant, some fresh coolant in there, and then try to see if it would actually flow to the bottom. And if it did, then I know that the system is wide open and it's safe for me to actually wash this first. Wash this with proper coolant, real coolant, which actually protects against the rust instead of causing the rust, right? Okay. Alright, so let's see. I'm gonna just pour some in there, see if it comes out. Yeah, it did push it out, and I want to continue pouring until the fluid actually comes out. Then I know the blue fluid comes out, then I know it is probably going through all the way. All right. Hard to see the color. Okay. Pour a little more. Now it's kind of blue. And I still have plenty of coolant, actual coolant ready to go. So at this stage, I'm actually just going to start pouring the coolant in there, keeping the bleed port open, I think. And if it starts to have the coolant come out from the bleed port. I'm going to close that port. Okay, got it down, and I would say again, do not over tighten that screw at the bottom. You just need to play around to get it fit inside. And actually now we are ready to just fill the whole thing. Let me start filling. And again, I'm waiting for the bleeding port to burp. And once the water fully comes out, we will close this port as well. Okay. All right, we're already having problems because that O-ring is leaking. If I screwed it up, that probably means I gotta go buy a new O-ring for this darn screw. So take a look. It is damaged, and yep, I need I'm gonna order a whole bunch of those just in case. But yeah, it's probably better before you start this job, order this O-ring first and the crush washer. Okay. All right, guys, so because of my screw up damaging that O-ring, I had to come up with something rather quick, some solution rather quick. So I went to my local AutoZone and I got this metric O-ring set. This one actually had a 12 by 2.5 millimeter O-ring that I need for the coolant pipe. And I did go measure the internal diameter, which is 12 millimeters, so I know this O-ring is gonna work. And this one comes with 25 of them. If I order it from BMW, that's gonna be $3 a pop, plus shipping, which is usually more than $12, $13. Showing you again. This is really useful, the metric O-rings, whatever, parts from AutoZone. And again, I needed the 12 millimeter internal diameter by 2.5 millimeter width. And this is the exact replacement for the BMW one for way less cost. And now I have unlimited amount of, supplies for next time I need to do coolant flush. And this is a damaged O-ring from the BMW, and this is the perfect O-ring ready for replacement. All right, so the damaged one, you can see it's being chewed off by my improper installation. So you want to have the O-ring actually on the pipe before you put it in there and make sure it just sits nicely. All right, so now we are at my bike again. This is the pipe, the lower pipe right here. It's kind of hard to see because again, this is an awkward angle. So instead of sitting that O-ring inside, I'm gonna actually put the O-ring on the pipe itself, and that way I could make sure that I don't crush it when I put it in there. I should probably have done that earlier using this method, but let's see if this time it's gonna work. It's gonna sit in there nicely for me or not. Hopefully it will. Okay, let's see. And this time I'm pretty sure it went in properly. It's got a nice pressure, and just look how easy it is getting it fitted properly. The trick is you have to put the O-ring on the pipe itself before you put it in there. Okay, otherwise it's probably gonna not going and have a good alignment. And now I could put this on there. Again, I have to test by putting in a little coolant fluid and try to see if it's still gonna leak. If it doesn't leak, then I know this time I installed the O-ring nice and proper. And again, don't over tighten, just give it enough pressure. That O-ring should sit everything in there. All right, so let's take a look. It's right here. Again, sorry, the angle is weird, but it is installed. Now we're gonna open up the radiator cap. Okay. Again, I have to push it. So you have to press and then turn, and it would open up. And again, it's empty at this moment because all the coolant leaked out due to the faulty O-ring. Now I'm gonna open up my coolant. We're gonna just fill it as we go, and hopefully no leaks this time. Let's wait. I don't want to see anything coming out from the bottom after a couple of seconds. And I mean, the entire process is really not that hard, but the trickiest part is that screw right there for the bottom. You need a O-ring, and I would suggest you just go to your local hardware store, get a 12 by 2.5 millimeter O-ring set that's included in one of those kits, and you should be good to go. Okay, so no leaks. At this stage, I am going to just pour in the remaining. Hopefully it's gonna fill it. Oh, and before I forget, I'm gonna loosen the bleeder port so some air could flow in nicely. Okay, and that one is also I would think is optional, but again, I just want to keep it open just in case. And it's a T30, so we're gonna use a T30. Open it up just a little bit. Again, this one has a crush washer. Ideally, you'll want a new crush washer for this as well. I'm gonna have my drip pan over there just in case. Now I'm gonna fill, and the water should, the coolant should go down much faster because now there's air going in at the same time. All right, so that is full. I'm gonna quickly close it. Okay. And then we'll continue to fill until it completely fills to the head of the cap. Okay. And again, this one is not tightened super tight, so just nice and snug is enough. And we'll continue to fill again. So right now I can already see the liquid right here. All right, so it's kind of leveled at this stage. I'm gonna just try to squeeze this, make sure all the air bubbles is out, continue to fill it. Doesn't take a lot, okay? It doesn't take a lot. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like at the top. See, it is almost full, and I'm just squeezing those pipes, get the air out. But it should auto blurb itself with the closed within the closed circuit. Good. And now I'm gonna actually dump some of the fresh coolant finally in the reservoir after everything else is completely full. Okay, so far no leaks, which is good. I tightened the bleeding port, and it's just a matter of getting in as much fluid as I can before I close the cap, warm up the engine, and then refill it after the engine is warmed up, just to top it off. Okay. All right, so we're done, and this is, you know, how much coolant is left. Take a look. I'm gonna zoom out. Okay. Right, not much. This is 1.5 liters. I used probably a little more than a liter, only because I wasted some of the coolant in there. But I'm gonna open the. I'm gonna turn on the bike. Let the bike really warm up and have the fan kicking. The fan is gonna circulate the coolant pump just a little bit, so get it to all the angles it needs. Hopefully give this engine a little more refresh, remove some of the rust that's hopefully not caused by the previous owner just pouring in water and some other unknown materials. And we'll start from there and try to check what the level is gonna be after the bike gets warmed up. Alright guys, you can see I put everything back together, which is rather quick, and there's no leak on the O-ring that I got from auto parts store to replace the broken one, and that's the crucial part. So what I need to fix now is, I have to be really careful because this pipe might get burned, is to, don't forget to zip tie the pipe, okay, to prevent it from getting burned by the exhaust. And that was really close. I didn't notice it was like dangerously close to the exhaust, so I'm definitely gonna do that. No leaks at the bleeding port, and again, get a crush washer for the bleeding port. I was not able to get the fan kick on, so the pump is not working, or the pump is working but the fan is not kicked on, which means the bike is actually cooling quite efficiently. Okay, so it is doing its job. The fan barely has to come on. I was trying to idle it for a long time and the fan didn't come on. So I'm gonna go and do a full, just do a joyride around the neighborhood. Hopefully the fan would kick on, and then I would come back and check the coolant level on the reservoir, which I don't think is gonna have any issues. Again, just because of the amount of coolant that I've used, I think I've did it successfully. And the remaining part is to just keep an eye on the temperature and enjoy the ride, and that's pretty much it. Again, takeaway is, do not start the job without those spare parts, namely the O-ring. That's the most important part. You guys can see where it starts to drip, and I was like, oh crap. But based on a lot of other videos that people removed a lot of other parts, I could confidently tell you that really the only part you need to remove is the bottom pipe, which is the one sits at the bottom, and the screw is most exposed near the heat exchanger. That's the only pipe you need to remove to drain most of the fluids. And of course you open up the cap over here and you know, to refill and to check the levels, and of course cleaning your reservoir, and that's pretty much the key part. I would keep the drain port open during the refill until you see fluid starts to flow out. Then I would close it and then continue filling until it's full, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments about replacing the coolant on the F800R, which again is actually a really simple process, provided you have tools and parts ready to go. I hope you found this video helpful, And if you did, please do hit the like button and subscribe. The reason I made this is because I didn't see any other F800R coolant refresh videos, and so I made it for everybody else to see, and also for my own sake of experience. All right, so thanks again, and take care and ride safe out there.